I started journaling when I was 17, and I've had this journal with me for a really long time. And whenever I'm about to move, I end up having to go through all the stuff I have, and then I see this and I read it, and I'm like, whoa. And this time when that happened, when I read through some of the things that I wrote at age 17 as a 31-year-old, I just felt I felt so many different things. There was this awe for that version of me as well, because I think she was actually pretty wise. When I look back at some of the things I've written, I'm just I can't believe I thought that as a 17-year-old. But then I realized so much of me is still also me, and it makes sense. But something that really moved me and broke my heart a little bit, and also just bewildered me, was just how intensely obsessed I was with being with someone. And I had also my first relationship when I was 17, and it was around 9 months. Most of it was also long distance, because it was just as I was finishing high school, and then went to university. And so much of this journal is about that breakup and how deeply it affected me, because it happened over a WhatsApp chat, and from one day to the next suddenly it was just over. And yeah, there's this bit here where I'm writing about how many months later I realized that he's deleted me off Facebook and Skype, and how they were the only two things we had left, and how it's all gone now, and I'm telling myself it's for the best, and I would have never done it, so I guess it's good he did. I haven't cried yet, I don't know why, but I'm okay. I think it didn't really hurt when I realized. It was more my heart felt the wave of shock and then faded. I mean, it makes sense, he always said he would, so why should I be that exception? Sometimes I just feel so silly though. I never thought that day in March that was it, that it was over and that I would never hear from him again. That fine and unbelievable were really the last two words I'd hear from him. It's kind of crazy, but it is, and I guess I was put through this so I could realize my strength and that I deserve better. It does suck, it hurts, but in my heart I know it's for the best, and better will come. A lot better, more people, more experiences. I'm glad he did it today, 30th of September, because tomorrow it's a new day, a new month, 1st of October. Yeah. And then even in general, there's just so much writing around desiring to be with somebody, even after this experience, even after this breakup. I used to go on dates in London as a young 19-year-old girl, and I think actually what I wanted was to be with somebody, but a lot of these men, they just wanted to have fun. And there's so much grief and rage around that in my journal. Yeah, but it's interesting just observing and realizing, looking back now, how this was so conditioned inside me, this desire to be with somebody. I revolved my whole life around it in some sense, in my my late teens and early 20s. It was so much of what I was making decisions based off. And yeah, even there's this line I've written, I believe in magic, and I hope that that person will see magic in me as I will in them, and maybe we'll create magic together that will move the world. On one hand, I read that now, I'm yeah, that's so wholesome and so sweet, but then there's another part of me that's I can't believe that all I deeply wanted was to be with somebody, and I think I'm not alone in that desire. Like, I think that we have been living in a world where we are conditioned to like see romance as like the be all and end all. Like, literally, marriage was like such a huge topic growing up all the time, and it's like somehow, as a South Asian woman, like that is why you are here. Like, that's how I received so much of my understanding around the need to be with somebody. It's like, yeah, but it's like why I'm here. And I see that in this journal. Like, I see that in the way I have written and in all that I'm carrying and holding, like as a 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old, because yeah, that's how long I kept this journal. And looking back, like now, I'm just like, wow, like I wish that, you know, we were maybe raised to see that there is so much more to life than like being with somebody, like that actually getting to know yourself and being with the universe, with God, with Creator is far more important and significant than finding someone to be with. And that love is not in someone else but inside me, and that love is also so much more than romance. Like, love is also there in friendships and in the way we speak to our family and engage with our family. And yes, there's a depth to romantic love that maybe like is not replaceable by love that we experience with family and friends, but why has that been pedestalized? Like, why can't all kinds of love like be treated with the same like wowness? I feel like we have been trained to treat romantic love as like this huge thing, like, and that's the biggest thing that I see when I read what I wrote here. It's just like I am grieving being alone after this breakup, because I was like alone in high school and all my friends had boyfriends or girlfriends, and then when I was with somebody, like it was kind of sour towards the end and like not very healthy, and like it ended, and then all I wanted after that was to be with somebody, like, and yeah, it's so deeply embedded in us. Like, I remember when I was in one of my birthdays as a teenager, somewhere between 13 to 16 for sure, that like when I blew my candle, my birthday wish was to have a relationship. Like, yeah, like that's all the movies I saw as someone who was born in 1994, like literally were centered also around this, like high school romances and being with someone. And I can't believe that that's how much, like, I can't believe how much energy, like brain-wise and everything-wise, that I spent like wallowing around this topic for so long. And having been in a few relationships now as an adult, looking back now as someone who's not in a relationship currently, I do think that like there is so much beauty and love and depth in like a romantic partnership and relationship. 100%, yeah. I don't mean there isn't, but I am wondering like why we have created a world where it is so pedestalized that like from a young age, like that's all this little girl, aka me, wanted. Like, when there's so much more in life that is also beautiful and meaningful and depthful, and yeah, like of course there's parts of me that recognize that like as I grew older, but I can see that this deep desire of like wanting to be in a relationship was just so strong, like all the time. When I think about it, and I even think to experiences I've had in my late 20s, I think that all of it comes from this, just this conditioning of like how being with someone is like the be all and end all of our life, and how I have made decisions where I have like abandoned what I really wanted to like be with somebody. And it doesn't mean like I don't want to be with somebody one day. I do. But I think that I also see a romantic partnership now not as like the be all and end all of life. Like I think that what I create and how I share my art and everything else in this world, and everything I do for work, that is just as important as sharing love with someone. And the way that I share love in my friendships, that is just as important as sharing love with someone. Like, I don't see a hierarchy between these things anymore. Yeah. In fact, that is something that really became so strong for me, that in my last partnership, I really was so vocal about this, that I don't see a hierarchy in these things anymore. I think that love is an essence that has many ways of being experienced, and that can be experienced through our relationship with the universe, through our relationship with our work, through our relationship with our friends, and then also through like a romantic partnership. But now I'm at a point where I've really like de-pedestalized romantic partnerships. Like when I look back and like read these journal entries, I'm just like in awe and like wowed by how deeply entrenched this conditioning is. And like all I want to do is give 17-year-old Hansika a hug and like tell her like, girl, like you're gonna go on such a deep journey of like finding love within you and meeting love within you, that it's not gonna matter that you are not in a relationship one day, like, because you're gonna be doing so many beautiful, cool, amazing things that mean so much more than being with someone. And like, I wish that like we raise children actually, regardless of gender, but girls in particular, because I feel like we have been basically conditioned to like trained to really like find our worthiness in being with someone. And I think that's why like I wanted to be with someone so much as like a teenager, and like all my early 20s, like it was just this obsession of like desiring to be in a relationship, because then maybe it says something about me that like I am worthy. And I'm just like, wow, because I know that I'm worthy regardless now, and the journey I've gone on, deepening into myself and like really coming home to myself, has been about like acknowledging my worthiness regardless of whether I'm in a relationship, regardless of how my work is doing, regardless of how much art I sell. Like, the outcomes of my life don't need to define how worthy I am and like who I am as an individual. And I think that has been like the biggest lesson of the last few years. Because actually, like, even keeping aside like how I always perceived romantic relationships as a teenager, I have been the kind of person that has always done so much stuff in the hope that doing all that stuff is going to make me feel good, like somehow as if that I'm only worthy if I'm doing, you know? And I think that probably a lot of people will resonate with this sentiment, where we find our worthiness is very much intertwined with everything we do. And when I worked in London in my students' union at that time, I loved that job and I gave my heart and soul into it, and like it was a very hectic job filled with so much activism and policy and event organizing and all this fun, juicy stuff that I just freaking loved. But I know, and I realized very much after I left that job as well, that like somewhere all the energy that I put into that, like I thought that it would somehow make me feel better about myself. Like my self-worth was very much tied to like how much I was performing in that role, and there was a sense of validation that was coming from that job that like made me feel less hollow inside. And I realized this like when the job ended and when I like decided to also leave London and move to India. Like I remember deeply realizing this, that I definitely tied my self-worth to my ability to create and hold space in that job. And I see that like there's a similar thing happening here where it's like I was conditioned to believe that being with somebody means like the world to everyone in my community and my parents, and so that's like so important for me to like find someone to be with somebody, and tying that to like my sense of self and how I feel about myself. And then I was doing the same thing with work for the longest time. And I think it's only very recently did I also like really break free from the thing around work, because over the years, like though I have then after that job like had, you know, different experiences of work as well, I noticed that like it was very easy for me to make work a big like central thing in my life. And then when I started to do my own thing as an artist, and then eventually also as a space holder and coach, it feels like I didn't even realize when those patterns were actually like also present. I think with my art it actually became very it wasn't like that so much. Like I had really got into a point where it was just like I am creating and sharing, and it's not about how it's being received. However, I think last year when I started Takat, and when I was then like stepping into like something I've always wanted to do, but I didn't think it would happen like now, but I was guided to just like, okay, it needs to be now, and I did it, and so much was happening. But somewhere I realized that in this so much was happening, there was also this part of me that was like doing from a place of as if doing more will make my self feel more like at ease with myself. Like there was this sense of like doing from a space of seeking validation, even if it's with my own self, like doing from a place of then this means that like I'm whole, you know. Like I sensed that very strongly when I was about to turn 31 and I was having this crisis of like overwhelm, and I realized it's because I just put a lot of pressure on myself to like again just create from a place of somewhere it was still tangled into like this story that like I'm only worthy if I've done this or have created this or have achieved this. And when I realized that this soul project is so much bigger than me and does not want to be created in this way, like I really need to untangle this story I've carried for so long around like my worthiness to what I create and put out. I then just was like, yeah, I'm gonna go as slow as it feels right to, and like build slowly and build in a rhythm that really honors also Mother Earth, and really build it from that deep space of connection with her, which is how it all began. And somewhere in the middle, I just found myself going back to these ways of being where I am outsourcing my sense of worthiness to things I create. Yeah, for a long time I have outsourced my sense of worthiness to people and then to things I create. And it has taken a lot to be here now at this point where it's like, even if no one shows up to something I host, it doesn't mean anything about me. Like, I am still worthy. Even if I sell very few scenes at an event, it means nothing about me and my art. Like, my art and me are still so whole and worthy. Yeah, it has taken a lot of work actually to like feel this in my body, because for so long, like, it was so easy for me to desire like a sense of I mean something from being validated by my work or for my like romantic partnerships. And this huge piece of work has definitely changed the way I experience a relationship with myself and with everything I'm doing now. And yeah, I desire and hope that more and more people can really experience this feeling of worthiness that is not reliant on anything or anyone, because I truly believe that like all individuals are worthy just as they are. Like, it doesn't matter if you are in a relationship or not, or if you have a job or not, or if you are working a lot or not, or if you have friendships or not. Like, you are worthy exactly as you are. Like, what you have in your life doesn't define your worthiness. Like, you are worthy of love and care and joy and just like existence. Like, you are allowed to exist and feel good about your existence without tying that to like output. I wish that I saw movies as a kid that actually like showed me this, rather than showing me like the importance or like the glamorization of being with someone. Like, I think if I saw movies that showed me that like feeling good about yourself without relying on external is like a goal in life, I don't think 17-year-old me would have written journal entries like this, where she's just like obsessing and heartbroken over this breakup of like actually not a very good relationship anyway, and like going on dates to really like with this desire to meet someone and feeling frustrated because like all these men, they just didn't actually want anything meaningful. And yeah, it's just, I think that if I saw movies as a kid that actually depicted loving from wholeness, meeting yourself deeply, like, I think I would have had such a different understanding of like love. And I'm sure like this whole world would, if we created movies that actually didn't pedestalize romantic love and really depicted like the importance of self-love more too. Thanks for listening. It's my third video. Yeah.